Greetings to each and every one of you. Welcome once again to a new episode of what we're calling Voices of Israel. How are you, Lori?
Very well, Edu.
What did we wake up to today? Cold weather? Really, today? Israel woke up feeling cold. We've already been up for a while, but we woke up to winter. Really cold in Israel for this time of year. It's raining. It's really coming down out there. And not only is water falling from the sky, but missile debris is also still falling on us from the sky. Unfortunately, no. And today, the city of Tel Aviv, the center, the Jerusalem area, the Rishon LeZion area, different cities that maybe for many of you are helping you get to know Israel a little better. Because the names of the cities are being mentioned. Before, the names of the cities weren't really given, but now the names of the cities are being mentioned. Unfortunately, maybe for those of us here, because we have the mindset of not giving information to the enemy, right? But Israel thinks a little differently, because the idea is, what can we show that can't be shown? I mean, there's no way people nowadays won't see what's happening. When there are so many media outlets in here, each one showing things from their own perspective. And the question is, what would happen if Israel didn't allow the media to enter the country? It would be like we were under a regime.
Why wouldn't they show or allow it? They couldn't.
I'm telling you this because today we don't have images of what's happening in Iran. In Iran today, we don't have images. Or media outlets that are in the main squares in Iran or in a building in Iran. So we depend on the images sent to us by newspapers like Al Jazeera and media outlets that are there, which are of Arab origin and show what's happening. I'll tell you about my experience. I was in Jordan and I was in Egypt, and what they show you there is what's bad about Israel. And images of children and families, women and children in the arms of women suffering from Israeli attacks. And that's what the world sees, but the reality today isn't like that. The reality today in Iran is different because Israel does not attack civilians. Israel and the United States are at war with the Iranian regime. And all the sites being attacked are identified by name. It's the XY base, this base, the power station, and things like that.
Or the names of the leaders who are in high command or those who just got promoted. When the previous one has already been eliminated, a new one comes in. Who is it? And we have this one there as the target. No?
Exacto.
But that's like you say, people don't understand many times that every time Israel tries to kill one of these, to eliminate one of these leaders, they do it almost with millimetric precision. It's not that they just set off an explosion, they set off a big one, but it's more focused on this person.
Yes, they use the word surgical to describe Israel.
Oh, look at that.
Yes, Mossad is Israel's intelligence service. Every time they carry out an attack, they do it surgically, and the others do it on a broad scale, because they do attack civilians. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These cluster bombs they send, they hit whoever is there, right?
What happens is that on the contrary, they know that we do care about civilians. So that's why they hit you where it hurts, where you're weakest.
Yes, well, and based on this line we're talking about, let's get straight into the topic we have prepared for today. Today, we actually want to talk a bit about what's been making headlines these past few days, what's in the news today. Thursday, the speeches that the different world leaders are giving. But we're going to focus mainly on President Donald Trump's speeches. Donald Trump is saying every few minutes he's making the announcement about peace in the Middle East. We have already achieved peace. We are talking with people who really want peace. Later, we are going to talk a little bit about who this person is that he says, people who really want peace. In fact, we are going to show a video that I think not many have seen, where we can truly see the root and whether this person is really seeking peace, as he believes, right? Sometimes. We believe that we in the West, and many agree with us, that Western thinking is not the same as Eastern thinking. It's completely different over there. You get into an elevator and they say, "Good morning, how are you, have a great day, hope everything goes well for you," and so on. When you go to Buenos Aires, when someone introduces you to a person, or the taxi driver, or whoever it is, they even give you a kiss. I don't know how it is today, but people who don't even know you give you kisses.
Well, I don't think a taxi driver would.
Well, a taxi driver? I don't know.
Introduce someone. This is my friend. No, yes.
Yes, this is my friend Robert, and Robert comes and gives Eduardo a kiss. Here it's normal. In Buenos Aires, it's normal for men to kiss each other. Here on the cheek, no. But if that happens here in the Middle East, it's not well regarded nowadays. Among young people, it's a bit different, but it's not well regarded. Why not? Or do you have to be very close within the Islamic world? Very, 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 very close. But it's not like I introduce you, Eduardo, and suddenly a Muslim comes and kisses me, or an Orthodox religious person comes and kisses me. That doesn't happen, because that's not the culture of the Middle East. And just as there is that physical distance, there is also a distance on a mental level. Why? Because if I don't know you, I can't trust you.
Obviously,
There's another way.
there's a long way to go before you get to know each other.
How can we reach an agreement? So if I can't fully trust you, for other people, for Westerners, according to what you're telling me, you know what? Let's sign and try. We have to place our trust. I mean, I'm going to dare to believe in you. But for the mindset here, it's like, I got him, he fell into my grasp, right? So, that's why Israel also has a different way of thinking, because it's operating in the very arena where the issue is. Israel is part of the shared geographic map. On one hand, it's Europe, but on the other hand, it's Asia, and all we have are neighbors who aren't Asian, but the continent is Asian, and we're within what's called the Middle East, where all the countries surrounding Israel are Islamic by religion, and the Israeli mindset already knows this, because there are even Muslims within the state of Israel. So when Donald Trump puts forward something like that, it's somewhat special. And a lot of people out there get really happy because they say, finally, 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 we've made peace with you. But for Israel, it doesn't really feel that way. So what we did and what we're going to do today, it's a kind of understanding or a search for what the media is telling us, what the newspapers are telling us. From outside the country and from within the country, we're going to make a kind of comparison.
Let's also say, what is it that people here think? It's important for us to understand the difference. Why do we get excited or not get excited about that news?
Exactly. Yes, 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 yes. Because in fact, they even talk about 15 points. And you're watching the news here in Israel at 8 in the evening. All the journalists are there and they tell you, let's see, let's see. We're going to cut the broadcast because there's an announcement from the White House in Washington. They say we're in a peace process and that there are 15 points. Did you know there were 15 points? Did anyone talk about 15 points? Of course, they talk about peace.
But the details aren't explained.
About which 15 points they're discussing. As of today, Thursday, they're talking about peace. And there aren't any 15 points that were made public globally that we could know about. They're only talking about 5 points, but we don't have to know them. Of course, because Israel has to be the first to know. They're involved in the matter. Hey, Israel doesn't know, you know? Alright, let's go, Laura. So with point number 1, the peace proposed by Trump. For some people who live around here, like they call him Vivi, not the friend, Vivi, the friend Donald. So Donald Trump, as we said, is presenting what? A 15-point plan. We said that those 15 points. According to the newspaper, the Scottish Sun, this is a European newspaper, it says that these 15 points are to end the war with Iran. And these points, since it's not known exactly what the 15 are, it says that among them at least what's included is the following. The end of Iran's nuclear program as the main point, limits on missiles, that's what it says. That is, it's not saying that they don't believe. or that they don't develop military infrastructure, missiles, just that they limit the creation of missiles. And that there should be an end to support for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. This is what the Scottish Sun tells you. In exchange, according to the newspaper, the United States would offer Iran sanctions relief. And look how interesting this is. It offers to cooperate with Iran on civilian nuclear technology.
What does that mean? Let's see, explain it to me.
Does it mean that you have all the means to make nuclear weapons, but so far you're using it to threaten the world? I'm gonna disarm, I'm gonna eliminate, I'm gonna make Israel disappear from the face of the earth. So I suggest you change your mindset because we have the means not to use them for that purpose, but to use them. In case they decide to attack you, in case someone decides to attack you, then protect your citizens, which is fine. That's fine, because every country that finds itself in a conflict situation needs to protect its own. It protects its citizens. Israel does exactly the same. It protects its citizens. But the million-dollar question is, can you change their way of thinking? Are you giving them all the material and just telling them to use it differently?
The thing is, they want to try to change that way of thinking. With the agreement, it doesn't mean that you're going to think differently, but you do have to stick to the agreement. That is, respect these points. So when you get all worked up and feel like doing anything, no, you have to go back to the points. And then it's like that mess that gets into our heads calms down and is limited to just reading. So, we're back on track again.
Look, the Washington Post says that Iran would be interested in negotiating. I mean, when they heard this question, of course they ask Iran, should we talk about this? And then Iran says, okay, we're interested in that plan. We can keep working through our working group. Instead of doing this, we do something else, but we're still doing the same thing, not now. The question that's also being asked in the newspapers is, what's the reality on the ground? And according to, again, the newspaper The Scottish Sun, it says Iran rejects the plan. Okay. And what's more, it says that he denies there are any real negotiations.
What does it mean? You said yes before, now you say no.
Of course, but the Washington Post tells you...
Two different newspapers.
Yes, that we are willing to negotiate, but the Scottish Sun tells you he denies that there are negotiations. So is there or isn't there?
Which one is more?
What are the newspapers telling us?
Which newspapers are more reliable?
Well, one is in the United States and the other isn't. United States. Nowadays, we already know. Let's see.
Careful with what you're about to say because I don't want our channel to get shut down.
I'm not going to speak badly about any country, but what I want to say is that every policy needs to manage the calm of its own country. Yes, yes.
Yes, that's right.
Just like it happens to us here.
Because at the end of the day, nothing is finished yet. So things also need to calm down.
And let's not forget that the media is a strong force for calming things down or stirring people up.
Stirring up trouble?
You say it causes chaos and stirs things up. Can a media outlet put a president in power or remove a president at that level, right? So, on one hand, they're telling you, in America, they're telling you, yes, there are high-level negotiations, which is what got the economy going again. And let's lower the danger of inflation and everything that comes with it. Ultimately, there are many things that the media, I don't know if they manipulate, but they do try to make sure the country's economy doesn't get out of control.
Sometimes they are forced to.
Sometimes they are forced to. So what's interesting, and this is what the Guardian Post tells you, it's another newspaper that tells you that. While peace is being discussed, the United States continues to send troops. There are still soldiers who are on their way to military targets, and the reality is that the war continues.
That's the point. I mean, it doesn't mean that just because they started talking about peace or that they began to talk about peace, did the plan change or does the original plan still stand? I mean, until something real actually happens, the plan has to continue.
That's what Al Jazeera tells you exactly. Al Jazeera is the newspaper that's in the Islamic world, in the Arab world, and that's what it's saying. It claims. What do you say? The war is still active with bombings and threats of escalation. That is to say,
Increasing.
increasing. It rises even further. So there are some questions that arise. For example, how does this affect Israel? What can you tell me about this?
What can I tell you, Edu? Is Israel really directly involved with this? Because, you see, as we said, they may talk about peace, but everything continues as if nothing changed. For now, since no one can change the plan. And anyway, things go on as if it were a normal war. On the contrary, today, like you said, something even bigger started, so there's not much change on this side. You also shouldn't expect that when one person starts talking, when one side starts talking about peace, the other side will immediately start pulling back. Not at all.
Yes, but let's agree that the one on the playing field is Israel. So if you're gonna say let's enter a peace process, it involves the one who's on the playing field. Israel is surprised. That's the reality. Israel is surprised. Even the citizens of Israel are surprised. And what does our government say? Where is the prime minister in all of this?
So you're saying that the deal, the beginning of talks about peace, was started by people who aren't from here?
They're talking from the outside. Did they fully consult the one who is actually involved? Well,
those are the interests behind it. Everyone has their own interests. Yes?
it's like we're here. One is at the table and the other is out in the field. The one at the table is negotiating and the one in the field finds out later what happened at the table. But is there someone who should? There's a connection that gets disconnected.
The one at the table is thinking that what I'm dealing with doesn't involve or affect the one in the field. But actually, it does.
Exactly. Completely. Because, well, everything follows its course. Yesterday, I was traveling to the northern area and I got the alert, or at least I received it. The siren wasn't going off where I was just getting the alert that it was sounding in the south. I arrive in the north and I didn't have any problem. I get in and start heading south. And he says to me, does the alarm or alert system go off for you now in the north? What I want to say with this is that the alert system was following me the whole time. I mean, I'm moving and the alert system keeps following me. That's no way to live there. No, because it's fine for me, I left, but there are people who live there, who stay there. There are people who live there and are there. So even if I'm moving from one place to another, it doesn't mean the conflict doesn't exist. It doesn't mean the reality isn't there. In fact, we've seen how unfortunately this morning started here in the center of the country. Quite complicated. Now, there's internal security. As we said, there isn't internal security. Unfortunately, when Iran launches missiles against the territory here, against all of Israel's territory, the most dangerous thing is these cluster munitions. That do hit the civilian population, yes.
It seems like now they're only using those. I mean, it's unbelievable.
That's what's working.
That's what's successful.
And also, well, that causes flight interruptions because think about it. The airport is operating, but it's not operating at 100%. Why isn't it operating at 100%? Because think about a plane that's boarding its passengers, that's loading all the food it has. The siren goes off. Where do the people inside the plane go?
But the security issue at the airport is on the planes, on the flights. I mean, it doesn't matter if there are rockets, cluster bombs or not. That's in any war, right? In any of them.
Okay.
Not just because of that, that's fine.
But what I'm trying to say is that what they're doing is exactly weakening the movement, the continuity, the economy, and all of that. That is to say, the complication continues, and their military strategy is also proving effective because it is hitting the nation's economy hard, terrible. Nowadays, you can't get on a plane. In fact, some airlines just announced that they're canceling flights until September.
Cuando se
Sí,
está
lo leí,
hablando,
eso sí, de terror.
When they're talking about peace now, then, if there's peace now, why are you canceling until September? Is there something they know that hasn't been said yet, or are they just saying, okay, that's it, we're coming back earlier than we had planned?
No, Edu, an airline is never going to take that risk. They're always going to try. Because also, don't forget that it's not just that, it's also about taking care of the aircraft and everything else. It's all the money that people have already paid that they have to refund or postpone, for example. So all of that is an incredible logistics issue. So they prefer, broadly speaking, to go with what's safest for them. I mean, everyone has their own interests, of course. Everyone has to take care of their own business.
Yes, exactly. Now, let's look at it from another angle. Let's look for media outlets from here, from Israel.
él, eh,
And the question is, how do the Israeli media present the message of peace? We have achieved peace. We already have peace. We are talking with people who want peace. So, the newspaper Time for Israel, Tiempo para Israel in Spanish, they say the following. They say that in fact, they warn that negotiating with Iran can be deceptive because it doesn't change the nature of the regime. How do you go deeper into this to explain to someone living in the West who doesn't understand what the nature of the regime is?
Are you asking me? Yes.
I'm asking you? I mean, the regime. What can I say, Adu? We know what the regime is. It's the regime of not allowing people to study, not allowing people to think. Simply that there are always poor people who have nothing to eat, who need shoes, medicine, who depend purely and exclusively on me, who see me as their protector. As if, because that's what people unfortunately achieve, who say, it's difficult, I can't get this, I can't achieve it. But thank goodness we have our leader who takes care of us, who gives us a box of food, who gives us shoes, who gives us clothes, and who gives us this. What they're doing is specifically putting you into poverty, creating poverty from generation to generation. And they're getting rich at these people's expense by controlling them. That's a regime. It's the same regime that also works, even in other Latin American countries. And that system has been working for years.
It's like a big funnel to me because they receive everything. Not only that, they can filter everything that comes in. They control the entire economy, the health sector, the internet, and all of that. It's a big funnel. Everything falls to them, and through that tiny little neck, they only let through what they want to let through.
Their network is set up like a giant octopus.
Yes.
There's also a head with 1,000 hands. Now, you know what? It's interesting, because in the countries in the Americas where this regime exists, they don't negotiate with them directly. They go and take them out.
Who, for example?
We remember the recent case of Venezuela.
I got it now.
We're not going to negotiate with you. Let's see. We're just going to get you out.
But why? Because it's also
Could it be that it's easier?
maybe it's something that's more accessible in Ahon. So don't they have bombs?
But who knows? Well, Israel warns, the Israeli media warn and say negotiating with Iran is deceptive. Be careful.
At least we told you.
It's not going to change the nature of the regime. In other words, this is what Israel is telling you. This is a spirit. If we had to speak in spiritual terms, they see it as the nature of the regime. We see it as a spirit, and it's very difficult to eliminate a spirit. And why does Israel speak from its own experience? Thank you. He says the following. The idea of guaranteed peace is seen as too optimistic or unrealistic. That's what Time for Israel says too. In other words, he says, an agreement is not enough. They will continue to be the same strategic actor.
Exactly.
Why are their hands like that? Because they're angry.
Not exactly angry, like saying, obviously that's how it is. It doesn't matter what agreement we're talking about because the problem is something else.
You know who I think are able to discover these kinds of things? Those who have spiritual discernment. Because you're realizing it too, regardless of whether you live in the West. But if you have spiritual discernment, you're realizing that there are spirits that control all these people. And so, as long as you don't get rid of the spirit,
As long as you don't remove the root, the tree will keep growing. Twisted?
exactly. Point number 2, fear that an agreement will hinder military objectives. That's what's happening here in Israel, and that's also what the media is telling you. For example, Israeli analysts point out that Israel and the United States are in a position of military advantage. Because that's what they tell you. We're winning. We've eliminated. I remember that just yesterday, I heard a speech by Donald Trump. We're not speaking badly about Donald Trump.
We appreciate him a lot.
For us, he is the best friend that Israel has had as President of the United States up to this day.
And he is doing very good things. Overall,
Yes, we're not speaking badly of him, but there are so many things he says that are really interesting for us to analyze. And we're not analysts, we're simply explaining the reality of what Israel is going through today in the face of a supposed peace with a longtime enemy. So what I wanted to tell you was this. Just yesterday, I was listening to a speech he was giving, and he was saying the following, and what he was saying is true. He says, "We've destroyed all their bases and leaders. There's no one left to talk to. Who do you want us to talk to? The wall? There's no one left. So we are going to make decisions about what is going to happen in there."
that's from now on.
He just said it yesterday.
That's what he says.
On one hand, he's right, because it's true. They tore down the whole system, yes.
But it's known that every time someone goes down, it's already decided who's going to go up.
Because we go back to the same thing. We go back to the fact that the root is still there.
Obviously,
Remember what happened with the terrorist group Hamas, or with the terrorist group Hezbollah? We had the case, what year is it? 2026. We had the case of the conflict of 20. When did this conflict start? 23. With Hamas terrorists. And at first there were thousands of terrorists. And today there are still terrorists, Hamas. They supposedly presented themselves as a political party because they said, we are going to bring liberation to Gaza. But as a political party, finally, the shirt he took off from underneath, do you remember that one? The Superman S. He would rip his shirt and the S would show up. The Defender of America. Was it Captain America or Superman? He could fly, but I don't remember exactly what he did. So what I want to say is that he would take off his shirt and truly show who he was. He was a superhero. And so these guys are the same. They take off that political shirt and say, we're the superhero of defense, of our rebellion. And it's a route that if the one in front is killed, the one behind steps up. And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And for that, they spent years preparing children in schools, in kindergarten. That's the enemy, that's the one you have to kill, and you're born with that. And when you're 20, for 20 years, they've been telling you that's your enemy, that's your enemy, that's your enemy. So what are you gonna do when you face him? You can't forgive him because you've always been taught he's your enemy. So is it the same thing with Iran? Can you say we have no one to talk to? There are still, because there are millions of people in there who are disguised in other clothing. Doesn't mean that there isn't one or that they don't.
they don't announce who the new one is when a person dies, when a new one is appointed. And maybe they don't publicly announce who it is because they're already realizing that they're eliminating one after another, but it doesn't mean there isn't one because they can't. It's like the army. You can't have a group doing a task without a leader. If something happens to that one, another one is automatically found. all over the world at all times. So in this country, it's not. In that country, it's not. It's no wonder.
Right? Look, another point it mentions there is an agreement. What they say here in Israel is that a quick agreement could stop the war before eliminating the nuclear threat.
Exactly. They need to pay attention to that. They need to pay attention to that because the nuclear threat has been brewing for decades. You yourself have said it for years.
Yes, but if he's telling you that it's okay for you to have nuclear weapons, you just need to change the idea of why you have them.
But that doesn't mean the enemy will do it that way. Maybe they could, assuming they want to agree to those points, which is not going to happen. Accepting all those points at some point, assuming they say it, that yes, they say, well, yes, we accept. Yes, at some point they could say, oops, we made a mistake. A new worker pressed a button and a missile was launched and it landed right in Tel Aviv. Again, sorry.
I mean,
Anyway,
suppose that someone at this point who's watching us, who's listening to us, is saying no. But why? Is it possible for them to change their mind? Is it really possible for them to change that idea and that in the end they give him a chance? When Jesus comes,
that's all.
give him a chance. And here in Israel, you know what they're going to tell you? They're going to say, let's look at the facts, and I'll give you an example.
Which one?
When the conflict with Hamas happened, we said in 2023, the ones who joined the defense were Hezbollah. Who are Hezbollah? They are the terrorists who are in the territory of Lebanon in the north. A peace agreement was reached. They said, we achieved peace. The very president we're talking about appeared and said, we achieved peace. In Israel, they signed an agreement. Qatar came, and several other leaders from different parts of the world came together. Do you remember that they met around there? In Europe? Will signed, stating that the UN and Israel are committing war crimes and other offenses. Everything that occurred. Until they finally said peace in Israel, which was the temporary peace we had. There was peace in Israel, and then exactly peace was created. With whom? With those from Hezbollah? And the idea was that they had to disarm, that they killed their leader, the one who hated Israel and who every day would come out saying, we're going to kill Israel. In his eyes, I'm going to see it, that it's going to disappear. I'm not going to die without seeing Israel disappear before my eyes. In the end, his eyes closed first and Israel still exists. That's why I say all those people who write, who hate us, who curse Israel, who say Israel should disappear, who bless Israel, who bless Iran, who wish Iran had more missiles, who want Iran to succeed in getting missiles into Israel and want Israel to disappear. I say, what a waste of time. We've said it before, it's a waste of time, and I'm telling you here. Don't waste your time wishing harm on Israel, because harm will not fall on Israel. It's not that Israel won't suffer. Israel will suffer, but Israel will not disappear. It will not disappear. Israel was born to remain. In fact, for those who believe in Jesus, when Jesus comes, because many, even believers, and what I'm about to say is for believers, many believers end up saying yes, but today's Israel is not the Israel of yesterday. It doesn't matter. Keep that thought. We're not going to get into debates or anything like that, but here's the point. The very same Jesus who came 2,000 years ago is the one who will return, and where will he return to? To what physical place on the face of the earth will he return?
Where do you think?
To today's Israel, to yesterday's Israel. Where is he going to sit in Madrid? Is he going to sit in New York? Where is he going to sit? In Iran? In Iraq? He will be in Jerusalem. And so it means that when he comes, Israel exists. Jerusalem exists. It didn't disappear, so don't waste your time with that, because there are many believers who say, the Jews didn't accept Jesus. How am I going to pray for someone who didn't accept Jesus? Look, in your family, in our family, don't we have people who haven't accepted Jesus yet?
Esos no que...
So we shouldn't pray for them?
That's very true.
Let's not pray for my aunt who didn't accept Jesus. Let's not pray for my grandmother who didn't accept Jesus. How many times did we tell Auntie to accept Jesus, yet she's still there drinking wine and smoking cigarettes or whatever? That's why we'll stop praying for her. I don't understand. Sometimes people make me angry. Anyway, I don't want to get off topic, but let's get back to this point. What I'm trying to say is that going back to the main point is that Jez, fly I'm not angry with you. I'm angry with those who waste time cursing us and all that. And this, what I just said, I think it gives us, all of us who watch these programs and love Israel, it gives us so much more courage, much more strength to be able to understand which side we're on and to have more mercy. Simply pray for them. As Jesus said, forgive them. Don't get into debates or anything like that. I don't even argue when there are these conflicts. We don't even write when there are these conflicts. We just leave it there. And if they're very aggressive, we simply remove them. We delete them. Because we don't agree with doing all these kinds of ugly verbal things. The point is, Jezvola,
We said they tried to make peace.
peace was made. It was signed. It was shown to everyone. A conflict broke out again. Not even a year had passed. And Hezbollah keeps sending missiles to the north of Israel almost every day. On average, we're talking about 100 missiles they're sending. The Israeli citizens who had been living in hotels for a long time returned to their areas, went back to their homes, and tried once again to plant the tree. All the houses that had been destroyed, let's paint them again. Once more, they end up being destroyed again. How can you feel after that? Obviously, you know that a superficial agreement is just going to cover things up. Like you said, company's coming. Quick, let's sweep, let's put it under the rug. The trash is still there. It didn't leave the house, so that's what happens. A quick agreement for Israel means the objective isn't achieved. Understand? The objective isn't achieved. Alright, we can't go on like this because the economy is getting worse. The situation is tough. We can't take it anymore. How many of our children? What will happen in 10 years to our children who lived through all this conflict? There will be consequences, no doubt, but it's part of everything that comes with living on this side. So, the plan, according to reports from Channel 12, one of the Israeli media outlets, says that the plan includes completely dismantling the Iranian nuclear program. So, if this peace is achieved now, that hasn't been accomplished. It won't be dismantled, at least not until then. The public, how does the public see it? The public says that they see the war as necessary. I mean, the coverage. Israel says that the conflict is presented as a defensive war, and the main goal is to eliminate an existential threat, which are the missiles plus the nuclear issue.
Careful, Edu, you read it. Are you commenting on the phrase a defensive war? And many might notice that this wave of war we're going through was started by Israel. I don't know if you remember that Israel planned this with the United States.
Yes.
They understood that.
In fact, it was one of the few times, if not the only one,
That they agreed on this.
first time that Israel drinks water.
Drinks water?
First time Israel attacks.
Exactly, that's the point. The point is why? Because also this war, this problem that has now turned into war has been simmering for decades. Like you said, from way back, so only now has it been possible to achieve something because, well, now it's coming to light. It was clear that these guys were 100% sure they were going to start. They were going to crush us.
So,
If we don't start and we don't begin to eliminate their leaders, all the plan they had, they were going to carry out their whole plan anyway. I mean, we had to launch the strike earlier because if not, the whole nuclear issue, they were going to use it. So we had to start fighting back sooner. That's why it's important you understand that phrase. A defensive war isn't accurate. How do you interpret it? Is it defensive, or are we attacking because we started by attacking, but in reality it was a defensive attack? Because if we didn't do it now, I mean, they were going to use all the nuclear weapons and it wouldn't just be us who would fall. Pay attention, because they're not just angry with us, they're angry with other countries too.
no doubt it's a danger.
Exactly. It's a danger for everyone.
Iran was there.
Keeping a low profile, just threats, but well, it's like people outside the country didn't think it was going to happen.
In fact, they showed how far their missiles can reach into Europe.
That's why I'm telling you, Edu, it's not just with us.
No, Israel, only Israel.
So we were the bad ones, so to speak.
With this.
But actually, it was a precaution at the kilo level in many countries.
In the long run, I think many will end up realizing it, and those who don't just won't. The ones who won't realize it are simply those who don't want to give in, because there are people who are just like that. Like, for example, one of the presidents of Europe, who even to this day is still angry with Israel. And the Iranians, how do they respond? They respond by putting their full names on the missiles that are sent to Israel. It's great that you're our friend. Let's kill people by name who side with Israel. Look, we're almost at the end, but there's total distrust according to the newspapers here in Israel. And they tell you the following. The Israeli media reflect this stance, and it's very clear. In general, they tell you, Iran is seen as a hostile ideological actor supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and so on. So that's why there's very little trust in negotiations. I mean, they don't believe. And it's believed that Iran could use this agreement to buy time.
Because in the meantime, it has more time to keep arming itself. So,
does all this explain to you why peace doesn't generate any kind of enthusiasm for Israel?
there's a phrase from a movie I want to say. Sorry, I was laughing. One I always quote. When we talk about this, like you started, that this is a way of thinking. It's an ideology we're fighting against. It's okay that an ideology, even if it destroys a country, the ideology keeps growing because it's like a little seed. It just needs to be watered. So there's a line from a movie, from a Terminator movie. Well, I liked that movie. And at one point, Kyle Reese was explaining to Sarah Connor the characteristics of the T-1000 Terminator. And I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. And it said, you can't make a deal with him. You can't reason with him either. He never feels pity or remorse or fear, and he will not stop at anything until he has destroyed you. That contradiction, that mentality we're fighting against, is the one they want to make a peace deal with. I mean, he's a Terminator. I mean, he's someone that if you press a little button, his chip puts itself back together.
He gets back up, and if he doesn't get back up, someone else gets up behind him, and so on. No. Yeah, no, it's impossible to have a conversation with these people. In fact, look, we have the 3 leaders on the screen right now. Well, notice that on the Iran side, it's kind of changing all the time we had it, so that you press a button and someone else gets up, and so on. A lot of them keep changing. Today I lead, tomorrow someone else leads. There are people who do these, what are they called? The ones who draw caricatures, they're comedians. Did they post something like a newspaper ad saying they're seeking a leader and listing the requirements? It's a few hours of life, a good salary, and things like that, right? Who wants to take it? And it's because, unfortunately, these people, like you said, come back with the same goal that the previous leader couldn't achieve. I mean, we keep moving forward with our plan, and our plan is to eliminate Israel. Now, the question is, and maybe we'll leave this for another episode, is why do they want to eliminate Israel? Why does Iran have the goal of eliminating Israel? Israel, and here it goes. He never said, I'm gonna launch missiles at you. He never said, I'm gonna wipe you off the face of the earth. He never said, I'm gonna eliminate your people. Those words never came out of an Israeli leader in the media saying, we're gonna kill Iran. We're gonna destroy its people. We're gonna bring down their ideology. That never came out. What came out? From the other side, all the time these words were said against Israel. Are we going to explain in another video where the root of the Iranian leader's hatred toward the people of Israel comes from? Now then, here we have the three images of Israel, the United States, well aligned with a very clear plan to eliminate all this danger on a global level. And as we said before, thank God for Donald Trump. Obviously, he has flaws, he makes mistakes, but he has a whole team behind him that can help him correct all those flaws. And obviously, nobody is perfect. He's not God. He's not the Messiah or anything like that. And he makes mistakes. The same goes for Benjamin Netanyahu. He makes mistakes and keeps making errors too. But they are the leaders who are here today, and they are the ones being used to do a bit of cleaning up in this whole conflict. The leader at the top is the president of the Iranian parliament. They are talking with him. He is the one they believe. According to Donald Trump, we have found the right person who wants peace and who we believe will. We are in complete agreement on the 15 points I want to show you, Lore, and the people on the other side before we say goodbye. A video where in that video you can see who. What is the spirit behind all of this? And you'll see, remember the image of that man above, because you'll be able to see him there in the image. You're going to hear a language, and we're going to explain what they're saying in that language.
Death to America, death to America, in la alika, in alika, in la alika, in la alika, in la America. My God, Enrico, my God. What America, what dust of America, what dust of America, la Israeli, gracias. Europe is watching me. The blood that runs in our veins is a gift to the leader of the nation. The blood that runs in our veins is a gift to the leader. The blood that runs in our veins is a gift to the leader. Path it was. Kill Ezekiel, kill Ezekiel. Hussein is our slogan, martyrdom is our honor. Hussein, Hussein, our slogan, martyrdom is our honor. Hussein, Hussein, thank you very much, and thanks to all our colleagues and loved ones.
Very good.
Eh,
You just saw it there. There's the man, the one who's still there in the image. The president.
Where was he in the video?
Sitting up on the platform. Up on the main platform. He was there, like raising his little hands. And do you know what he was saying with his hands raised? All those people who were there, what were they proclaiming? They were proclaiming death to Israel and death to America. That's the root. That video isn't an old video. It's a video from February 26, 2026.
ahora.
We're talking about just a few days ago. That man is part of the Iranian regime itself. He's the president of the parliament. That is to say, the country's president is not there, the country's Islamic leader is not there, and the commander of the national army is not there. But the president is still there, and with him. Do you really think you're reaching an agreement when just about 3 weeks ago he was saying death to America, death to Israel? Planning, probably about the rooms they have hidden around there. I don't know, blueprints of where the next attack will be, where the next terrorist attack will happen. And it's, what are we gonna do? So the question is, can you really make peace with them? Israel says no, under no circumstances. No, for now, it's not a good idea to make peace right now. So if there is peace, it may be temporary, and we also know that biblically it could also be temporary. Because the conflict will remain permanent, right? Permanent. Did you have something to read, Lore? And we'll wrap up with this. Look.
This topic, it was so hard to find a verse. You were in the same boat too. We didn't know which verse to choose. This one. But lumping all peoples together, that's not true. I found it in Psalm 96, verse 10. Say among the nations, Jehovah reigns too, he affirmed. The world will be shaken. No matter what happens, the one who keeps reigning, the one who reigned, and the one who will always reign is God. Nothing escapes, nothing, not a single one of us escapes his sight. He will judge the peoples with justice, no matter which people, those of us who speak today, those who do not speak today, he will judge them. With true justice, nosotros sabemos que there is no justice, but his justice is the real one, he is the one who will judge. Let the heavens rejoice and let the earth be glad. Let the sea roar and all its fullness, let the field be joyful and all that is in it, the trees and so on and so on. And again, it says later on, before Jehovah, who came because he came to judge the earth, he will judge the world with justice and the peoples with his truth. So everything is said. The good thing is that whether it's a covenant or not, an agreement or not, it doesn't matter which country we're living in. What matters? We have to be sure that we are trusting in God, right? That we can't let slip by at all.
Exactly, yes, to fix our eyes on him, to put our trust in him. He is the only true one, the one who created the heavens and the earth, whom we call Elohim. Some call him God, but that's not a name like Allah.
Exactly.
That's not who you should trust. So if you're trusting in him, and if they tell you it's him, he's the same. Forget about that. Go directly to the source and believe in the true one who made the heavens and the earth, and the one who cares about each one of you and about us personally. Exactly. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet.
Yes, those who like this content and want to share it, yes.
Share it and hit the bell as well. Exactly. See you in the next episode, and thank you for staying with us until the end of this video. God bless you. Bye-bye.